I will do what I can. I'll make sure I give you as much explanation as possible about how we're doing this. So I'll start out with just supplies. So basically, these are just Doodle Art cards, and you can see that we have 4, pretty similar, but the reason it's 4 up on a page, and I just noticed that my camera is doing some weird stuff, but I'm just going to go through it here. So what it is we have 4 up. This one is the 4 up one I wanted to tell you about. This is it's a 10 by 14, and the reason I picked 10 by 14 is most of these watercolor cards are 5 by 7. So I want to do 4 at a time just to really, do it up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure, since this is going to be, I'm going to do them portrait style. I'm going to measure 5 inches right here, 5 inches from the side of the paper, not the mask part, but the side of the paper. I'm just going to make a little tiny mark. I'm going to do it right on the tape so that I'm not hurting the paper. So I've got a measurement here, and then I'm also going to measure it. I'm going to move this so I don't knock over my. Okay, I'm going to measure it also down at the bottom. And these are handy. This set of plates, or what do you call these, cutting boards, really weren't very expensive. So I just found them really nice. So 5 inches from the edge of the paper, not the masked edge. I'm just going to do another little tick right here. And what I'll do is now I'm going to take, I have the tape, I'm just going to run it straight across. I'm going to use the center of that tick that I just made. And I'm going to bring it straight across. And I'm just going to lay it down. And now I have one division here. I'll just tear it off. So 7 inches, I want to do, since this is a 14 inch and I want to do a 5 by 7 card, I'll just take from the top of the page, very top edge, I'm going to mark 7 inches right along on the tape. Same thing on this side. I'm going to mark 7 inches from the edge. There we go. Now I'm going to just bring that and just use that to center it. I'm going to use my eye to make it nice. And it's not, doesn't have to be so precise, but if you want it to be, you could actually measure it on the paper and then erase later. But I think I've got it divided pretty well. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to do some watercolor. So watercolor, you can use any of your transparent watercolors, or if you don't have transparent watercolors, just anything out of a pan. You can use, we're going to use some golds, some metallics. I've got these little metallics. These are Japanese watercolors. If you have any metallic watercolors, that's great. Another thing I forgot we wanted to do is if we want to make sentiments. So we want to make we want to mask a place for our sentiments if we want to have them. What I do is I'm going to take a piece of washi tape. I'm just going to bring it kind of at the lower right, and I'm just going to put it right across there. Same thing with this one. And I can vary where I want to put it and vary the length of that. But that's where I'm going to be able to write my sentiment. Just going to mask it right here. And maybe that's too far. Okay, so now I'm ready to paint. So we've got our masked areas. Now what we need are also loose brushes. Like I've got this brush that's already wet, but it's called a black velvet. It's silver black velvet, but it's an oval wash brush. Excuse me. It's pretty interesting if you haven't used one of these. It has a very nice wide area here, and then it kind of gets cut, the hairs are cut to a point. So you can get some amazing variations of strokes with it. You can also just use a big mop brush would be good. Anything that's big. This is just a plain round brush. But we need something to keep ourselves loose because we don't want to get tight in this. So what we need to do now is if you have a palette, something big, because these little trays probably aren't big enough for that. But you want to mix up your colors and see how they play together. What I like to do is take a scrap. This is the scrap piece from trimming off this paper. I like to have a little scrap piece because I like to see how these colors are going to work together. So I'm going to put it right here, and I'm going to mix up some colors. So I'm going to take my wash brush. I'm just going to grab some paint and put it in this tray. There it is. There, you can see I was already playing this morning. So I'm going to kind of go with what I had, except I noticed that I kind of went pale. So I'm just going to take some, this is actually that beautiful pink it's a Holbein color, I believe. It's opera pink, and it's a stunning color. It mixes wonderful with other colors. I'm just going to try different things. This is a time to play. There's other colors in here. I have a little color chart, but different yellows. I've got a nice red. I've got some blues. And on over here, I have some other colors that I really like to work with. So I'm just going to make a kind of get some colors mixed up, because these little tiny half pans are a little bit small for me to be trying to go back and forth. So I like to mix ahead of time just to get plenty of colors, because we've got 4 paintings we're going to do all at once. So I've got my yellow, my pink, and I think I'll pick a kind of a turquoise color, and I think that's what that is. You can see it's right here. So I'll just put that over in this little tray. Just get plenty of it. So got some of that, and I thought I would do purple, but I'm going to take out the purple. It's a little intense. Maybe just, this is the time to play though. You can see what colors will go together and which ones don't go together. But you want to do things that you really love to see. So maybe I think a purple might be fun, but this is a dioxazine purple, and it's a very intense color. So you have to kind of go easy with it. I'll go ahead and mix some up though. So I think I've got about 4 colors that I can work with, and I probably have plenty of pigment, and I do have the gold, so I have plenty to work with here. And I'm also going to need to moisten the gold, because I'm going to throw some gold in there. So just get your paints moistened, especially the metallics. They tend to take a little while to dissolve. So just get it ready. And if you see that's nice and liquidy now, now I'm ready. Okay, here we go. So the painting part of this. So we've got our paint, we're ready to go. We're just gonna go randomly and just loose, I'm gonna just loose strokes. Now I told you I would do a little testing on this page, just to see how the colors play. So I'm just gonna pick up a little of this kind of turquoise that I have, and then I'm gonna pick up a little of the purple. I just put them next to each other to see how they blend. I'm going to put some of that yellow. You know, I see they play very nicely, so I'm happy with that. And I'll put some of the pink and watch that. So I'm able to see how they mix together, and they're really fun. So now it's time for me to paint and have fun on my cards. So loose and free and just nice and wet and juicy. You just get lots of water on your brush, and I'll start with the blue, and I'm going to just go kind of just big bold strokes on the whole thing, and just lots of water. Just keep, and just kind of random. I mean, it's just you're not thinking at all. You just want to put it on and go right over the tape so that you get to the edges. And now I'll take some purple, and I'm just kind of going to use I'm actually painting from my shoulder rather than my wrist. I'm trying to kind of keep it as loose as possible. So I'm using my shoulder to do this. Now I think I'll throw some of this pink. This is just stunning stuff. And I will do some yellow as soon as I get rid of that pink. I love that. Now the yellow, just a little touch of that. And I think it is, I can add more now if I want. I could add the gold now, or I could add a little green. I can just pick up any color. What the heck, I'll try a little of this nice blue. You want to get kind of the edges. You want to make sure your edges are kind of covered. Not all, but just so you have an edge. Okay, so now it's nice and wet and juicy. And I think I'll throw this gold in now. So now I've got plenty of gold and I'm just going to tap it in. Tap it. Splash. Ooh, yummy. Gold. And this will blend so gorgeously. All right, there it goes. So that's it. I leave that. Now this is the part you have to, it's like, okay, wait for it to dry. So I did one a little about 10 minutes ago. Of course, it's not as bold as this, but of course, as you know, watercolor will dry a good deal lighter than the original. So here is the one I had done a little bit ago. So I had to use a hairdryer to get that to dry. And sometimes that could be dangerous because you may lift up your edges. But here I am. I've got my four of these are ready to be doodled on. So this is the time where you just put away your paints after you've done that. I just put them away, and I could go back to them. I might go back to them, but here it is. So to do the doodling, you would you can use a gel pen. This is a black gel pen. I have a multi-liner. My favorite, these are the microns. This is a brush one, which is really nice for the silhouettes that we're going to do. So the brush tip makes it quick filling in of black areas. And if you just have a variety of pens, if you don't have pens, that's okay. You can use a very fine brush as well. But so you just start. So I'll start with a pen just first because a pen will give me some really fine lines, and I kind of, it won't skip over the paper as much because this is a cold pressed paper. It's got a little bit of tooth. So you'll just start by doing your thing, just start drawing from the bottom. I just go up. I'm just going to go right over my tape line, and I'm just going to make little doodles. And this one, I'm going to make these cute little, I don't know what they are. They're sort of stylized flowery leaf things. Using my pen, now I'm going to fill these in, so no worries. It doesn't have to be perfect. I think I'll go up like here and just go on the tape and just do the drawing. So I can make another, I can go back, like go out here like this, off the page. I can go and do another one. Make a little tiny, maybe I'm doing them all the same size, so I'm going to make them a little bit different in size. So that's one of them. I'll just let that be on that side. And then this one, I'm just going to do another leaf, kind of a different type of leaf this time. So I'm just going to go up. I'm going to do more of a sort of a realistic one. So this would be more like a fern. If you don't want to do leaves or shapes like that, you can just do any kind of doodle that you want. It's your card. And really don't worry about it being perfect because and what you're drawing, it's just going to look really cool when you're finished. These look like almost like oblong eye shapes. I'm just going to try to make them a little bit bigger as I go down the page. Just randomly. And then once you get to your your tape, just keep going over as if you're, don't worry, the tape is there for it's going to be a nice block, a nice mask. Okay, so I think I've got maybe one more to do. Right, so there's that. I'm just going to leave that one for now. Might add something later. And then this one up here, and it might be kind of faint right now, but what I'll do is I'll show you the next step so that you can see how cool they look once you get them filled in. So like now I'll take my brush. If I don't have a brush tip pen, a black, just using some really dark watercolor would work as well. Just go in and fill these your drawings with, just make a silhouette. Basically, you're filling in it solid black. And I'm going to ask if everybody's following along, or if you're painting. I know that it's hard to paint and wait for that to dry, but this is the part where it's just very mindful and you can just take your time. And what I like to do, and I don't know if you can see this, there's a little, I have a new camera coming, and I'm really excited about it because I'll be able to zoom in really close. I'll show you what I like to do just to give weight and I'll bring it up once I've done it. But to get weight to the lines, I might even just use my little marker, my little pin here. So I've got my little micron, and I just make little weights to the lines, and then I'll just kind of make it fatter in areas and skinnier, and just keep it kind of vary the weight just a little bit to give it some interest. If I can get it closer, hopefully you'll be able to see it. You can see how I'm just kind of doing it that, kind of just creating a little variation in line. And if you can see on this one, the gold is just really striking. I mean, you can see, if you could probably, I don't know if you can see that but it's a very subtle sheen in that. And the gold does, it just spreads the color out. So just, the whole thing is just to color in, with a brush tip, something that gives you, if you were to do this with a pen, it would take forever. But just fill it in. What I'll do is I'll finish this one so that I can show you what we'll do next. If anybody has any questions, if I've gone too fast, please unmute yourself and tell me if you have, let me know if you have a question or if you need me to go over something. I'm happy to help. Because I kind of felt like I rushed into this a little bit. I was just so excited about painting. So I'm going to take a look as I'm going to show you how this one's drying. So see, the gold is much more striking in this example, and it's not dry yet, but it's going to be a fun one to work with later on. You can just see how much fun the colors blended really well together, and it's just not. And with the looseness of this, kind of balances with the more tightness of the doodling. I think they turn out so beautifully. I'll just keep coloring in my shapes. If you decide that you have too much paint, let's say you've gone really dark and you just think, oh no, it's not going to even work, the silhouettes will work. That's okay. You can silhouette with white. Solid white paint markers would look really great. So if you have a very dark areas, you can always lighten them with your light markers or paints or gouache. There's no rules in this watercolor here. And after this, I'll show you my little foligraphy, or it's a calligraphy style. It's not really, it's fake calligraphy. we can do our the sentiment with to finish it off. And the beauty about this is once you've taken the masking tape off, it's magic. So I've got all my little petals filled in, and I think I'll just take this little pen and do those, just kind of weight the lines a little bit just to give it more interest. And same with this, maybe I make this a little thicker. And I'll just take it and bring that down, kind of reinforce that line. You may notice that if you did put metallic paint, you'll see that your pen kind of doesn't really want to stick to it. You can use if that happens, you can use a pigmented pen, such as a Sharpie, and it's definitely going to stick over that. So there's different ways you can kind of darken your lines. Now this is much more delicate than my other ones, and I think I'm going to leave it this way because I kind of like that. And I'm just going to take off this part right here because it's now ready to. So I've got this nice white, crisp white area. And I usually take a pencil to start my words. So I'm just going to do thank you. And I'm just going to take a pencil and write it very lightly. This is the time where if you don't like the way it looks, you can always erase. So this is a very simple one. Now I'll take a pen, such maybe a 3 micron. I'm just going to go ahead and outline my word. What I've done. And the next thing, so there it is, it's pretty, but I want to make it a little bit more dramatic. So I'm going to take a next level. I'm going to take I only have 2 3s. Okay, well, if you have a little thicker, it might be easier. I just realized I only have 2 3s. So I'm just going to take, I'm going to thicken one part of my letter. All the letters that are going down, the vertical strokes, I'm going to thicken those. Same thing as I go down the H, or the H, just going to thicken that. As it descends, it gets thicker. All of those vertical. You can get more styly if you want. You can add little serifs and all kinds of things. Just the whole thing is just, and it's your own handwriting too, so it's kind of a very unique. And it always looks better when you just add that little extra weight. This one I'll put it a little bit bigger. Then once I'm finished, once the ink is dry, I will erase those little lines I did. The little pencil lines might have to go. So there that is. You can see how it looks. I can go thicker if I want, but then that looks pretty good. And once I take the tape off, and my card is finished, and I mount it, I can mount it on a black card, like I did with this one. This one I mounted on just black cardstock, and I think that came out nice. Now I added some white here on the black leaf because I thought that the black was just a little bit too much. So I just took a white opaque marker and added the white dots. And then on this one, I just added some white highlights in the leaf. You can see. Same here. So the white really helps, especially if you have lots of dark colors. Like these were kind of a little bit darker than what these will be. And